What's up, folks? Maximilian here, and welcome back to more Arcade Stories! Legendary tellings of myself growing up in arcades, a bunch of different arcade games, and a bunch of different experiences with those same games. So, what I wanted to talk about today was something that, really quickly in the previous video, someone had a great question. Someone was talking about a lot of fighting game players when they grow up around fighting games tend to play the games that are around them as, like, passing time and stuff like that. And I've talked about this before, and there was absolutely that one game that was definitely the time passer, and I got really good at it as a result. And it's completely unrelated to fighting games, and it's House of the Dead. When I went to an arcade back in the mall, when the mall still had an arcade, way back in the day, this mall always had a huge congregation of Marvel vs. Capcom players, and I wasn't good with an arcade stick, and I was still learning how to play. So I eventually started playing Marvel vs. Capcom. I was really into it, loved the characters. That was my first real competitive game. I was pretty young. I was in like my early teens. And the time that there was a lot of people waiting to play it, and in that time I wanted to also spend my money wisely because I only had so much money I could use at the arcade at a certain time because I didn't have a job or anything. So I went to the House of the Dead machine, which was pretty cheap even at the time. And during these summer days, when I wasn't playing Marvel vs. Capcom, I was playing House of the Dead because it was cheap and I loved the game. And I got really good at the original House of the Dead because of it. So good, the fact I was able to completely perfect the entire game and save every single civilian and never get a hit and unlock the super secret, like, special room that's at the end of the game. It's a lot of fun, and as a result, through that, House of the Dead became one of my most favorite franchises in, like, all of games. I absolutely love the House of the Dead franchise, and the original House of the Dead is still one of my favorite games of all time, so that's definitely it for me, the game that I learned alongside, and got that trigger finger, man. Like, you had to have a certain amount of ambidexterity, or whatever the hell you call it, in your hand to get really good at that game, because it would be rough. If you don't have a trigger finger, oh my god, man, you'd have some sore hands. And it's not good when playing Marvel vs. Capcom. What I wanted to talk about today primarily was one of my most favored franchises, not even game related, and then a game came out for it. So growing up as a kid, I absolutely loved the Aliens movies and the Predator movies. I even more so loved the comic books from Dark Horse Comics, the Alien vs. Predator comics. They were so well written, they were masterfully crafted. I drew that stuff every single waking moment, every day. I would go out, this was when I was like 10 years old or so, I would go out and I would make, like, cardboard mock-ups of, like, the pulse rifle from Aliens and, like, the Predator face mask, and I would actually create them and color them and do all this crazy stuff. If I had pictures from that, I don't know if I still do. Regardless, it would actually have mandibles coming out, I was actually pretty impressed when I saw it again when I was older, how cool it looked. So, long story short, I was just obsessed with Aliens and Predators and the Alien vs. Predator comic books. I just loved that stuff to death. I think I've seen Aliens over like 150 times in my lifetime. Anyway, going forward, I came into an arcade at Disneyland one time. Now, my big issue earlier is with rides at Disneyland. Disneyland had one of the best freaking arcades ever. It was two-story, it was multi-platform. There was like an X-Wing TIE, whatever, Star Wars fighter jet hanging up on the ceiling on the top, and there was a ton of fighting games up there, and down below they had all the other games, like the brawlers, the shooters, the racers. And I didn't do rides very much when I was younger. I was really freaked out by them. I only did a select few rides, and then like drops on rides at all. They really got to my stomach, and I hated that. And I ended up growing up and really liking that, which is weird. Nonetheless, I always spent a lot of that time in the arcade because it's right next to Space Mountain, and when everyone went on Space Mountain, I was too freaked out to go on it, so I went to the arcade and played games, and I went there one day, and there it was, Alien vs. Predator. I'm gonna run the opening for you right now from Capcom. A lot of you guys might not know about this because this is kind of an old, forgotten game, but this is one of the most legendary beat-em-ups ever. You start as two predators, like a hunter or a killer. One guy has a giant spear from Predator 2, one guy has like a big laser cannon from the original Predator. They both have that, but they just changed them in the game. And you play as Schaefer, or you play as... oh my god, what is her name? What is the main girl's name? She's extremely similar to the girl in the comics. I think it's actually kind of loosely based on the comics in a way. Oh my god, what is her name? I had to look it up. It's Lin Kurosawa. She was totally badass. She's like pre-Ibuki, just sort of combat ninja from Japan. She was really cool. Schaefer's got a big old arm cannon that shoots like a machine gun, and she does all these like ninja moves. Game is just freaking fantastic. Like, I remember I've never beaten it in the arcade, but I remember playing the opening levels and it just being total blast, just wiping out droves of aliens in this 4-player brawler similar to Final Fight. It's really damn cool, and it's a fairly awesome game. If we saw an HD release of that, it'd be freaking amazing, but I doubt it because it's associated with Fox. Absolutely loved this game as a kid, and I spent so much time with it because I was at that one weekend at Disneyland. Thank God, my folks gave me quarters and stuff like that, but I just was in that arcade forever, and everyone knew like where we gotta find Max. So Max is gonna be in the arcade playing Alien vs. Predator. That was before I got into rides and everything, and I started to become a real big roller coaster and ride enthusiast later on in life. But yeah, during those few years when I was younger and I didn't do them, you could find me in the arcade playing games, especially at Magic Mountain or Disneyland. Dude, Alien vs. Predator is no joke. If you guys get the chance to try this game out, try it out. It's a little disappointing nowadays. Like, I remember going into it and playing like an emulation of it, because there's been no release of it other than the arcade. And the big problem is that the opening of the entire game is just killing aliens, the queen, all this crazy stuff going into the hive. It's totally awesome. And your predators, it's great because your predators as the good guys versus aliens the bad guy, which is how it was in the comics. And I remember the latter half of the game, you were fighting like robots, and you were fighting like the man, like the corporation, and you were fighting like army guys. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I remember the game kind of losing what it is, like about halfway through, and at the end you fight some crazy big dude in a robot, and I was like, this isn't exactly what I wanted. It's kind of disappointing, like later on, like the game direction just totally loses focus, but maybe we'll revisit that. If you guys want to see myself and the Yo Video Games crew like Matt check out Alien vs. Predator from Capcom, let me know. Maybe we'll do something special on this channel for that game and give it a shot, because if you go online and YouTube and you type in Alien vs. Predator Capcom like combo video, there are some crazy ass combos you can do in that game. There's some just absolute ballistic stuff that you can pull off in the Alien vs. Predator game, like kind of like pre-Devil May Cry, like 2D side-scroller type of stuff. It's pretty badass. So any other games you guys want to hear me talk about on future arcade stories, please let me know in a comment below if there's a specific arcade game you want to hear about. There might be something sitting in my brain, like I said before, that is just waiting for a story to be told. Until next time, my name is Max, and I'll see you guys later.